What are we doing today? We're focusing on the fundamentals of frameworking. So, um, one flag here with frameworking, it takes a long time. Uh, so don't be discouraged by if this session is tough or if you are struggling with frameworking, period. It's the thing I start with almost all of my candidates on, unless they veto me, which they're always allowed to. But we always start with frameworking, and the reason is in my view, it's the hardest skill set, and it's also the foundation for everything else. Frameworking, oh, I misspelled it. Frameworking is code for structured thinking. And so if you have structured thinking, well, then you're going to be able to framework. You're going to be able to drive a case forward. You're going to be able to process your exhibits well. You're going to be able to do market sizing. You're going to be able to do your behavioral. Everything in life is structured thinking. Everyone's obsessed with AI right now. Using AI effectively requires fundamentally structured thinking. In the world that we're moving towards, where expertise is less important, structured thinking is ever more important. So, okay, cool. Ostensibly, we're here today to learn how to framework for a case interview. But actually, in reality, what we're doing is we're learning how to think in a structured, clear, organized way. And that's helping us for our consulting, helping us for any future jobs, helping us in the world of AI. Okay. Feel free to scan that code for Leland as well, if you guys aren't already, though I imagine most of you are. And really quickly, we're not here to learn about me, but just super quick, I majored in economics and French at in the States University of Maryland. Then I worked in IT consulting for a number of years, rose up through the ranks. I did my MBA in New York. Then worked at BCG. Then started Custom Case Coach, which is my own kind of coaching program, and partnered with Leland and various others to do that. Currently pursuing a diploma at University of Queensland in Australia. Passion for languages, for data, for travel. But more importantly, my when I was recruiting at Stern, I had no background knowledge. I had no background experience, right? So I was an IT consultant. I knew nothing about strategy. But I got 8 interviews and I got 8 offers. And so I didn't fail a single round. Um, that's one to establish a little bit of ethos here so that you guys at least go, okay, well, we know what he's talking about. He did it himself and he's been coaching for 5 years. But the other reason is to encourage you guys because most people that I work with, pretty much everyone, does not have a strategy consulting background. I mean, almost by definition, you're trying to get in. Some people do, EY up to BCG, for example. But for the most part, you all are coming from technically zero background knowledge in strategy consulting. I show this to say you can do it. Okay. I did it knowing IT and economics and French. Nothing to do with strategy consulting. You can do it as well. How do I know? I've been able to do that for 500 plus candidates across the past 5 years. If you guys are interested in the coaching, thanks. You already sent a page. Okay, so we're all good there. But I've done it. Hopefully, in today's session, we get you some of that. Obviously, coaching is its own thing, and actually getting a frameworking mindset shift, I find, tends to take 2 to 4 sessions in parallel with the course that I've built. But hopefully, we get you at least a start today. Speaking of structured thinking, this is how we structure the entire case prep journey. I have other workshops where I've kind of talked about the whole thing, where we talk just about your assessments, where we talk about just about fit. But today we're focusing in on just the structured thinking part of it. Even then, we're doing a subset of this. So let me just get my pointer up. There we go. Okay. So as we jump into this, there's classic cases and then there's unconventional cases. As a flag, guys, I'm going to move through the beginning pretty quick because I'd like to do exercises with you. I find that that's the best way to learning as opposed to me kind of just talking. But we're going to move through this pretty quick. Classic cases are about 50%, one half of what you get. But even then, you need to learn how to think about them and adjust and adapt them to the case. Really importantly, learn how they connect to each other. Profitability is not in isolation. Growth is not in isolation. Market entry is not in isolation. Think about how they can connect to each other. This is the world of business, not just frameworks. Unconventional cases are now about 50%, 50%. What does that mean? Gone are the days where you could just memorize Victor Chang, right? So you're going to get unconventional cases. It's almost guaranteed. You go, well, which company is most likely? All of them, right? Don't focus on which company does what. Learn how to adapt and adjust to any prompts you get There's some key unconventional frameworks that you can use. I've got 8 of them. I don't think we cover that today, but it should be on Leland Plus. If not, it's in my course. And then there are different approaches that you can learn as well. But basically, learn how to solve any problem, and then you're good to go. So, how do we do this? Well, first, a case is a project, right? So, all of you guys that are doing your case interviews, one important mindset shift is to realize like this is not an examination. This is a simulation, right? We are simulating a real life project. So that means that the prompt that you get in a case is a project intro, right? That's day 0 of the case, right? You're on the plane, you're flying Sunday night, Monday morning, you're reading the pitch deck, right? Or you're reading the RFP from the client, right? Or it's the partner of the firm that's talking you through kind of what we're doing, right? Which means that the clarifying questions that come before your framework are whatever in real life you would ask at the beginning, right? You wouldn't ask for specific data. You wouldn't ask kind of nothing questions. You'd ask anything that actually allows you to then whiteboard and figure out what the team is going to go do. Taking this analogy further, what is a framework then? Do any of you guys know? You guys can unmute yourself and say, or you can type in the chat. If a case is a project, what is a framework? I can't proceed until I get a guess. This is a interactive session. Nice, cool. Yep. Nice. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. My favorite answers there are Damola's with it's a plan for how to approach the project. And AT said work streams. Each bucket is a work stream. Right. So really what that means is each work stream has its own goal and purpose. Each work stream is basically a team or a person or a phase of work, and you can work on them independently, right? But you don't have to intersect and talk all the time and all of that. But together, you all are going to solve the problem. That's what MECE means. So whoever invented MECE just wanted to sound smart. You know those types, like the guys who have like studied too much and then throw out a whole bunch of words. Have you ever seen Good Will Hunting? It's kind of like that, right? Just reading out of the history textbook. MECE was just a guy that wanted to sound really smart and make everyone confused. A framework, a good framework is just a solid project plan. It means your teams are not running all over each other's toes, but you have enough teams to solve the problem holistically. What does that mean? It's not a plan, or it's not an execution of a plan. You're not detailing every single thing. You're not an operations consultant. You're a strategy consultant. You're setting the teams up for success. That's the key. Another analogy I like is a case as an essay. I use that for undergraduates, maybe who don't have as much work experience, but it's the same gist. Okay. So what does that mean? We framework, first of all, by knowing the objective. You guys might go, oh, of course, 30% of frameworks don't even answer the darn question, and you fail immediately, right? You're done. Case over. I don't want to be too dramatic, but if you have the best answer to the wrong question, it's wrong. So your number one job is always to make sure you understand the objective. There are 2, the primary objective and the secondary objective. Listen closely because sometimes people get this mixed up. Maybe I should change my terminology, but primary objective is the question being asked. What is the client paying you to answer? Don't do anything more than that, right? People always like to add all these extra buckets. Do what the client wants you to do. The secondary objective is what good looks like. What is the objective of the client, the goal of the client's goals, needs, wants, desires in answering the question. Always, always, always make sure you're clear on this. For the interview, for the job, for an argument with your spouse, for a life decision, right? What is the question? And what are the goals, needs, wants, desires when answering that? Make sure you're clear on that for exhibits, for market sizing, for behavioral. Don't do it in such an obvious way. What is our secondary objective? Please don't do that. They don't know what that means. I've created this terminology, but do that. Then secondly, you've got the project plan, right? So as we already mentioned, it's a mini project plan. You're solving the problem, so it's content, not process, and you have work streams. And I like to think of it this way. Each bucket of yours should have like, it should be a word or two, and then it should have a summary sentence down below, which is the why, the purpose of that bucket. If you just gave your team that sentence, they can run off and do it. Underneath your buckets is when you figure out the what and the how. And those you should have sub buckets, not a list of random ideas. Don't list out a whole bunch of things. All the fixed costs I can think of, all the variable costs I can think of. Nope, wrong. Categories underneath. But we'll get to that. Okay. So with that in mind, question for all of you. You can feel free to type this in the chat. Scale of 1 to 10. How is this framework? What do you think of this framework? Scale of 1 to 10. So the prompt is basically, should we enter this market? And we've got the first bucket is market. The second bucket is company. The third bucket is financials. What do you guys think? Scale of 1 to 10. I always need answers to proceed. So you guys are heroes for all the rest of the attendees if you answer. Nice. There we go. Okay. 776. Okay, cool. So if 10 is a perfect framework and 1 is a, horrible framework, this person hasn't even seen a case before. It looks like you guys are rating this framework as a 6.5 on average, which means pretty good, right? It's wrong. I give it a 3. I give it a 3. AT's right. It's too generic. What the heck does market mean? What the heck does company mean? What does size growth margins mean? Guys, I know this is in the casebooks. The casebooks are wrong. Okay. The casebooks are very helpful. Still use them. But guess who writes them? MBA students, most of whom have gotten an internship. So they're great. Use the casebooks. Don't look at the frameworks in them. This is not how we framework. Because what the heck does my team actually do? All the information out there is a little dangerous because then we just say a bunch of words and we hope something works. Here's what we need. And before you guys start thinking, oh, I just have to ask questions. No, no, no. I prefer statements, if anything. These are just the same. One is just with a statement, one is with a question. Don't get locked into binary questions for your bucket titles. It's risky. So I do prefer this one, even if the other one is conceptually right. Don't say, in order to figure out if we should enter this market, I want to look at market company financials. I have no idea what you mean. You need to say, the first thing I would look to do is ensure this market is attractive. Determine the market attractiveness. Do we even want to be here? The second thing I want to go and look at is understand how attractive this market will be to us. How well will we perform in this market? If the market is attractive, we need to make sure that we will perform well if we enter. Then, if we've decided that, we just need to make sure that we can execute and pull this off. Do we actually have the capacity and capability? And from an implementation perspective, will this actually work? Can we execute this? Under market, I want to look at size, growth, margins, competition. What does that mean? In order to determine whether or not this market is attractive, I want to ensure or see if it's a large growing market with good, strong margins that we expect to continue and non-existent or weak competition. Essentially, a large, good market that is ripe for disruption. Right? That's a framework. Right? Don't go under company. I want to look at revenue and costs. Fixed costs are, variable costs are. Cool. Awesome. Like you know how to list fixed costs. A strategy consultant is actually solving the problem, but not prescriptively because we don't know yet. What you're doing is you're setting up the teams to then go and solve it. Okay. We're going to expand on this in a second, but I just want to kind of get through some basics and fundamentals, some of the academic stuff, and then we do the applied stuff. Number one, it's helpful to understand kind of generally what the major summary sentences are for each case type, but don't lock into it too much. And I'll get to that point in a reason, or to that reason in a second. But get an idea of the major case types and kind of like at their essence, at their core, what are they? But look at what we have for market entry, right? You could very much go, oh, cool. Ian just gave me the summary sentence for market entry. Ian just gave me the framework for market entry. So cool. I think I've got market entry down. I'll do a few cases, but then let me go study growth, right? Okay. Well, this is the market. This is the framework for market entry, right? What if this is the prompt? The market's booming. Should we enter? Well, shit, I can't really use that framework anymore, can I? If you include that first bucket, eliminated. I'm being melodramatic, right? You're not going to be eliminated from one thing, but it's not good. It tells me, the interviewer, from the very beginning, you're not listening. You're just copy pasting from a casebook, right? So if the prompt is the market is booming, should we enter? All of a sudden, now you don't have this bucket. What if we're evaluating three markets? We're deciding whether we launch in Canada, the US, or Mexico, right? Well, all of a sudden, we have to say which market is most attractive, right? Or how attractive is each market? And what about this one? What if we say we decided we're launching in the United States? Wow, this is a whole other framework. Whole other framework. What if it's which product do we launch? That's a new market. What about within the US, which customer segment do we go after? That's a market entry. What if we say we've entered, should we leave? That's market entry. Right? What if we say we have entered and we're trying to figure out if we should enter next door, right? So there are so many variations to this. And once you tack on the industries, once you tack on the actual product, once you tack on what we've already done before, then everything suddenly changes. So a market entry is not a market entry is not a market entry. Yes, go and learn overarchingly what a market entry is, but don't think that because you've learned one framework online, that is a generic market company competition or something like that, that you're good on market sizing. Way better than all of this is learning how to framework, period. Hiba, I love your question. So Hiba asked, isn't the first bucket, is the market attractive, the same as is it attractive for us? Think about the delineation of responsibilities of the team, right? Uber, about 10 years ago, wanted to launch in China. Why? Well, China's big, 1.3 billion people, large and growing middle class. So the Chinese market is attractive, right? Did Uber do well? No. They should not have launched there, right? So a team had to decide if China is attractive in the first place, right? It wasn't worth going to Myanmar, right? Closed country, not a strong middle class, etc. But China is attractive as a country. Then your second phase is saying, okay, will it be attractive for us? Will we do well in it? They're two fundamentally separate questions. They're two fundamentally separate teams and work streams. Make sense, Hiba? So say you're evaluating in 100 countries. Well, you'd first go, well, of those 100 countries, which ones are just good countries to enter into? Which ones are attractive? Then you say, of those, which ones can we do well in, right? That's a kind of another way to think through that. And yes, Brendan answered that perfectly with fewer words than me. Okay, so we can have lots of different variations of this, right? So just be careful. The other thing is, as I mentioned, make sure that you understand how all of these case types. Well, thank you for the question, Hibba. I really like that. That really your guys' questions help me explain things better. So thank you. So with the world of frameworks, this is on Leland Plus. I need to give a link to that. I'll give that later. But with Leland Plus, I have a whole video on the world of frameworks where I talk through how these different case types connect with each other, how profitability could lead to growth, could lead to a market entry, how pricing comes from market entry, or it could come from competitive response or whatnot. So just remember, you don't have to like memorize this. And in fact, at the very beginning of the video, I tell you not to memorize it. But just remember, this is all zoomed out. It's not this examination like the LSAT or the GRE or a math test. Not to say those are easy. They're just a different muscle, but it's not an examination. It's a simulation. Okay, for the real world. Okay. One other point before we get into some fun exercises. There are legal buckets. I know that you've probably seen stuff online that has risks. I'm telling you they're wrong. Can you still do okay in an interview? Yes, because not all interviewers follow this anyway. But risks is not a bucket. Solutioning is not a bucket. Baseline and assessment is not a bucket. I will never, ever create a project in real life that goes, well, the first way that I'm going to solve this problem is by assessing the problem. And the second way is by solutioning it. No, of course. No shit, Sherlock, right? Sorry, I've cursed twice now, but it has an effect. So, right, that's not the project. The project is how will I go about assessing and solutioning and addressing the risks, et cetera? How will I set up my teams across that flow to figure out the problem? Okay. Maria, at no point in a framework are you doing math, right? Math is in the case. We're talking framework. So, Maria, a framework is the setup of your teams and projects. Think about it in real life. How would you know what math to do already? You don't. You need to figure out what data comes your way. You don't know in real life what the client has, what data there is out there. You'd have no idea what math you need to do. Period. There's no chance. Some prompts like investment prompts are like, well, the benefit has to outweigh the cost. So there's elements of math, but please don't do any math. V, great question. Everyone struggles with the risk point, and I get why. Risks are everywhere. Risks are everywhere. Are there not risks in the market itself? And okay, China tariffs with China and the US? Are there not risks for us when we go in, competitors coming in and stealing our IP and competing with us? Are there not risks with us executing and pulling it off? Right? Reputational risks, us not doing it properly, us running out of money, right? Risks are everywhere. They're not a bucket. You can't assign a team risks. Doesn't make sense. They're everywhere. They're in every bucket. So if you want to talk about risks, you embed it within, but you don't have to worry too much about it. Great question. Sure. The entire framework is trade-offs, Boomy. The entire framework is trade-offs, right? When we're deciding between three markets, across those three markets, we're doing the trade-off of how attractive each market is, the trade-off of how attractive it is for us, and the trade-off of how well we can execute it. Maybe one country has the best market, but another country we do the best in. Okay, there's trade-offs. It's inherent. It's inherent to your decision-making process. You cannot have a bucket called trade-offs. You cannot have a bucket called risks. It is not the thought process of how to solve a problem, right? So if I'm deciding between two jobs, I can't have risks as a bucket. If I'm deciding between two jobs, I'm looking at salary, I'm looking at mobility, I'm looking at career progression, I'm looking at fatigue. But those are all risks. There's risks that I might not get paid enough. There's risks that I might be they're everywhere. But I love your question because people really struggle with the risks one, and they like to throw risks in as a last bucket. Please try to avoid it. Try to avoid it. Okay, really quick. There are two approaches, two main approaches. There's a whole bunch, but two of the main approaches are structured down. So you think of all the buckets that you know, and when you think of it, when you hear the prompt, you go, oh, okay, da, 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 da. I think this makes sense, right? The buckets that pop into your mind, you then place them into the framework and then build them out. That's the top-down approach or the structured down approach. And then there's the build up approach, which is when you hear the prompt, write down everything you think of, all the questions, all the little things, the data points you'd want, what you want to know more about, what you don't understand, how you might, set up one team, write down everything and then group it. Those are the two main approaches. There are others, but those are the two main approaches, structure down and build up. Okay. Before we jump in and do an exercise, just make sure to sign up for this.
Yeah, just briefly want to remind y'all that we are giving away $50 during this event. You can scan the QR code or you can click this link that I just sent in the chat to enter to win. You have a great shot of walking away with $50 here, so I would totally recommend that you just like take 30 seconds and do this really quick. And I will be announcing the winner in about 15 minutes when we finish up.
Cool. Awesome. And yeah, that's my time mark for hurry it up, Ian. Okay, so really quick at that mark, just let me quickly flag my coaching to you guys. So a couple of things. Leland Plus is a awesome resource. Um, if you're interested in stuff that I've been talking about, want to see some of the grayed out stuff, there's also like a ton more videos, ton more content. You can basically go to Leland Plus, you filter on my name. It doesn't have all my content, but it's got a good portion, and you can filter on my name and see everything that I've built. You'll see a bunch of different BCG KC chatbot tests, behavioral interview stuff, market sizing, networking, resume, cover letter, everything. Yeah, I've got 5 pages plus. That's Leland Plus. Highly, highly recommend it. If you are interested in coaching, feel free to follow my go to my profile. You can go to the management consulting tab, and then you can see the packages that I offer. But of course, just reach out. Obviously look at the packages first, but reach out. Happy to have an intro call to talk through those. What is my coaching? Really quick. Okay, so one, this is generally how my coaching program looks like, but I adjust. So if you guys have an interview in a week or you just want to do resume, cover letter, all of that, that's perfectly fine. We can do that. But generally, I like starting in the beginning. And what we do, we have your entire Taylor application. I show you how to mass produce your cover letter to save tens of hours. I show you how to network way more effectively than most people do, again, saving you tens of hours and getting you referrals. We have a case prep plan for you. So a daily, weekly cadence for you. And then our coaching sessions are focused in on the casing, the behavioral market sizing. But I don't throw everything all at you all at once. It's super tailored to you. And so I focus in only on what matters when it matters, just like kind of a trainer at a gym. Okay. All of this works alongside my 360-degree course. So basically, the entire program has been built for you, and it's built across 4 or 5 years, and it follows all of these modules. And so we adjust, we jump in at different stages. And again, I share with you what's needed when it's needed. We don't just blindly follow a course. What we do is I bring you into what's needed when you need it. You get everything included, all of the modules, full courses. And then the other thing, whenever it loads. And then the other thing is obviously I've got a whole Google Drive behind all of that as well. So as I mentioned, you can get some of those BCG Casey chatbots through Leland Plus. Other ones are through my coaching or through the package. Same thing with McKinsey and Bellis. Written cases, for example, I've got a million of them. So really, basically, this is all to say, if you end up doing coaching, well, if you don't do coaching, definitely do Leland Plus. If you are interested in coaching, take a look at my profile. But basically, everything is tailored to you, supported by 500 plus documents at this point, but not overwhelmingly so. We do coaching, you get materials. We do coaching, you get materials, and it's all guided across the whole journey so that you're not overwhelmed. I actually find nowadays it's less about how much you have. It's actually about, okay, Ian, what do I not worry about versus what I do? We'll say really focus along the journey and build you up throughout the way. Okay. So let me just return back to the actual workshop. Okay, cool. So quick reminder, objective, project plan, why, what, how. And now we're going to do a prompt. So I want all of you guys to try to framework this. You'll get a couple of minutes, okay? So you are a robber or a thief. You are exiting a train station, and in front of you, there's a bakery, a flower shop, and a pizzeria. How do you think about which one to rob? I don't want any answers in the chat just yet. I know, oh, Ian, he's a hypocrite. He always wants answers. Take a minute or two. If you guys have clarifying questions, feel free to ask. But I want a framework for this. If you guys have clarifying questions, you can ask. Isaac, the shops are in the same vicinity. Brendan, you know what they say about assuming? Good question. We want to get as rich as possible. So yeah, we are trying to get wealthy. iPhone, you're wrong already. That's not a framework. Sorry. Wait, guys, I said no, no frameworks yet. So as important in a case interview as being smart is listening to the interviewer. Always make sure you hear instructions. So no framework yet. Maria, they are not all the same size. Also, sorry if I'm direct, guys. I just think directness, we beat around the bush. Sania, I don't right now know how many customers there are in each shop. Um, Boomy, maybe that's something you want to think through. I don't have the answer to that. Nathan, I don't have the one with the most customer traction. Wait, guys, these are not clarifying questions. None of these are clarifying questions. None of these are clarifying questions. These are all wasted clarifying questions. The only correct clarifying question out of every single one was Brendan, right? Do you guys remember that slide? What's the most important thing? Primary and secondary objective, right? And clarifying questions what I would ask on day 0 before I go and set up my team, right? Sorry, ZC also asked the right question. What is the goal of the robbery? Sorry, I missed that one. Those are the only two right questions. All the rest are just asking for data. It's not setting up a team. Sorry, I'm talking so much. Give your guy another 30 to 60 seconds to create your frameworks. And if anyone's done now, you can put the framework into the chat. And I know I just critiqued everyone. So anyone who does present their framework is very brave. So thank you in advance. Okay, finish up. And does anyone want to share their framework? I'm gonna honestly, it takes some bravery, but if you get direct feedback from me, that's basically some free coaching. So if you feel like putting it in the chat, I'll have time to critique a couple. And just to flag, everyone will get critiques. It's almost impossible starting out with frameworking or even reading all the online stuff to have a perfect framework. That's okay. That's fine. You guys should see me when I was trying to learn salsa dancing, right? Like we're not supposed to be good at this. So be brave. So I'm going to go through each one. If anyone has a couple that you want to put out, feel free. Far as really good start. Um, the best thing you could say, far as is instead of financial considerations, which sounds vague, you want to tailor it. You want to basically say winnings, right? How much will I take home at the end of the day from each store? The moment you say any costs, you're kind of tailoring, you're kind of going too far, right? It's just overarchingly, how rich will I get from each one? Then, far as my question to you is, what is your end goal with security considerations? And by the way, everyone else should listen to, right? As far as said, security considerations and robber capabilities. What's the end goal of security considerations, right? Security systems at the store, workers inside. Well, your end goal is you want to be able to rob it. You want to see how hard it is to rob. What's the end goal of your robber capabilities? Well, you want to see how hard it is to rob. So your bucket is actually how hard is it to rob. Here's the thing. If you put security considerations and robber capabilities, now you're ignoring everything else that has to do with how hard it will be to rob. You hear what I'm saying? If your bucket is how hard will it be to rob, you cover everything. Your team will run off and get you how hard it is to rob. If you look at security and robber capabilities, you're now ignoring your getaway vehicle. You're now ignoring the store layout. You're now ignoring customers around the store. That's not security, right? You're now ignoring time of day. You have to be collectively exhaustive. Security considerations and robbery capabilities are level 2. They are sub buckets. They are not buckets. Always think about what is the point of my thing. Pranshu, first one, how much money can I make by robbing? Perfect. How hard is it actually to rob the place? Not the place, each place, but I'll take it. How easy is it to get caught after the robbery? I just plug that third one into the second. Yes, you guys, you can have 2 buckets. Nathan, that's not a framework. Maybe it was an old clarifying question. Andrew, which is the most profitable rob? Which has the highest chance of success? Which enables the greatest future success? You combine the second. You can combine the second and third. Far as exactly, yeah, I think you were answering my question before. You're exactly right. Um, okay. And then Alex, those are too narrow. How fast do I rob each place doesn't include how difficult it'll be to rob each place or how likely someone will push back. Um, so just be careful on that. Alex, you're too narrow on that one. So this is the best framework. Most value, probability of success. The sub buckets are items and cash, ease of entry, ease of robbery, ease of escape. Look at how high level me see that is. They're separate from each other, but they're collectively exhaustive. What else could you do? You could do store and customer, right? So you can split it into how much will I make from each store, how much will I make from each customer, right, within those stores. You can also you can split those out. You can do accessible cash on hand, sellable items in the store, and then money and valuables on the customer. And then look at the right-hand side, right? You can do the ability and willingness of people to stop me, the level of technology and security and my ability to counteract it, and then the location, geographic layout of each store and my ability or how that affects my robbery, right? But look at these buckets, right? Everyone so far, you were on the right track, but you were too low level, right? Always build at the highest level. Anytime you bring in your own thinking, your own biases, you've gone too narrow. You always have to zoom up. Always make sure you zoom up. Okay. Now, quick question for you guys. We asked these 2 questions, right? What am I trying to rob and what is my goal, right? Those were great clarifying questions. Why are they good clarifying questions? Does anyone know? Take a guess. We had 2 people ask it. Let me see if I can scroll through their names. ZC, why did you ask that question? And Brendan, why did you ask that question? What is the goal and the objective is cash? Yeah, but why do we have to understand the objective? Nope, not because they're quantifiable. Andrew, closer. Um, yeah, we want to make sure each bucket answers the objective. Maybe reduce biases to take. Yeah, the oh, nice. Wow. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. Sometimes I have trouble getting people to answer. The best answer right now is ZC again, helps me with a plan when I know the goal, and DK to tailor the framework. The definition of a good clarifying question is one that will change your framework, right? When a boss gives you work, what do you ask? You ask anything that's going to change how you approach doing the job. If you're on day 0 and you have to go whiteboard a project for your team, what are you going to ask? Anything that changes how you assign that team and how you set those teams up. A good clarifying question fundamentally changes your framework, right? If my goal is just to rob cash, all of a sudden that value bucket becomes money, right? It's more narrow, it's easier. If my goal is to feed my family or just have fun, my framework changes, right? Okay. How about this one? Do I have a weapon? Is that a good clarifying question? If you guys just type in the chat, yes, no. We'll have a couple of these. We'll see which ones are good and bad. Is do I have a weapon a good clarifying question? Yes, no. Oh, correct. No. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the fact that I have to look at odds of getting caught, the odds of, how people will happen. Does it change the what like results? Which one is higher or lower? Sure, but it doesn't change how I set up my teams. This is so critical. It doesn't change my team setup. What about what time of day is it? Yes, no. Good clarifying question or not? No. It doesn't change my framework. What does it change? What bucket does it change? Do I not look at the value of each store now? Do I not look at how much cash I can get? Do I not look at the value of all the items that I can rob? Do I not look at how hard it'll be? No, I still look at it. Does robbing at midnight make it easier? Probably. Doesn't change my framework. Makes sense? I got you on that one, guys. What about this one? Where is each store location? Yes or no? Good clarifying question or bad clarifying question? Cool. We've learned. Nice. Yeah. So, um, and so how great is this, guys, right? How did I know you'd ask these questions, right? If you scroll up in the chat, I saw someone with weapon, I saw someone with time of day, I saw someone with location and size of store, right? How did I know? Well, I've done this a bit. But isn't that great, right? My goal with this session is to give you guys a mindset shift. I'm seeing it right now. This is one of like 1,000. Unfortunately, with 45 minutes, there's only so much. With Leland Plus, please check that out. Please consider coaching. This is like this, you don't know what you don't know. I'm the same at the gym. If I'm trying to rehab my shoulder injury, I don't know. I hire a trainer, right? Because I know I'm going to do it wrong. So same thing here. You guys didn't know what you didn't know coming in, right? You thought that that one framework was a 7. It was a 3. You thought that clarifying questions were these. They're not. So this isn't, me to scaremonger or anything like that. I just want to help. Um, but think about, oh boy, right? Just on this one topic in 45 minutes, these are the things I've realized I'm just doing completely wrong. There's a lot more. And that's why I put a lot of that on Leland Plus. I want it to be accessible. I want it to be, as cheap as possible. But then also if you feel like coaching, feel free. These are some of the approaches. Again, a lot of them are covered in, I think half of them are probably covered in Leland Plus. The rest are in my course and my coaching. And every journey is tailored. Now, we're not going to end right now because they've given me 10 extra minutes, which I want to use. Okay. Um, we won't have time to cover this one. This is a business-based prompt. And normally the way I work with my coaching candidates is we do probably 1 or 1.5 sessions with non-business prompts, just like what you saw with the robber thief. Because guess what? All the noise and terminology throws everything off. So we build out the non-business prompts so that you can see exactly how to do the MECE thinking. We do a lot more feedback than I could give in terms of prompting you why and how do you think about this to build up your buckets. And there's a whole bunch of videos on that as well as live exercise. But then we do the business prompts. So I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but I'm going to give you this prompt, write it down. And if you guys want to see the video answer, there are 5 framework options for this. Shoot me a message, no strings attached. I'll give you the link. Okay. I was hoping to cover today. It's hard with 45 minutes. Write this down and we're going to do some Q&A. Okay. Because I want to make sure to cover people's questions. I don't want to rush through this too much. Write this one down. And also, if you don't have time to write it down or you miss it, just message me. I'll give you the whole video link, which starts out with the prompt anyway. But ideally, you think through that framework on your own and really try to build it out. And then you'll see a video with 5 answers. Now, really quickly, this is so important, guys. Please don't memorize frameworks. Please don't go, oh, now I have a framework, because these are the questions companies are asking, right? We have a blood sampling machine. How do we convince the staff at a hospital to use it? That's not a market entry. It's not a growth. It's just its own thing, right? We're selecting a production site. Do we pick Mexico or the US, right? That's not any classic case type. I love this one. Last mile delivery with drones. Goals to hit 20 million. Do we run the pilot in a suburb or city? It's none of the, it's maybe market entry, but not really. And this one's great. I think I can say this. This was a question asked by one of the MBBs everywhere in the world for like a good year. It's past now, but this was a real one. Everyone was getting this question. How do we run a teller training program? All right. So this isn't to scare you. Actually, this should reassure you guys. You don't have to go memorize the whole book, right? You don't have to memorize every single mathematical formula. Just learn how math works, right? You don't need every algebraic equation. Just learn algebra. right? Same thing here. Learn how to framework. Don't go, oh, I need to go study profitability frameworks. It's not how it works anymore. Learn how to think like a consultant. And then you're going to see impacts in your. I've had people tell me they have had their personal life improve because they're making decisions better, right? That's the idea. I know it sounds ridiculous, but so here's, I think that code, the QR code should still work. Um, Feel free to message. You can book an intro call. We're going to leave some time for Q&A now. But hopefully, like especially that clarifying question thing, the measiness of buckets, thinking about a project plan. I hope some of these things stick with you while you do your frameworking, whether we see each other again or not. Hopefully, I got that mindset shift because everyone falls into the trap that you guys fell into. I mean, it's just, it's Ferris Bueller. What is it? A Groundhog Day, right? It's like Groundhog Day for me. I just see it every year. So I'm trying to break that, but I'm one guy. So, oh yeah, we have to announce the giveaway winner, and then we'll do Q&A. Sorry about that.
All good. Our giveaway winner today is Mark Roos. So congratulations, Mark. We will be in touch with you via email within the next 24 hours or so. Thanks for sticking around.
Congrats, Mark. Didn't even have to answer a question in the chat. Unbelievable. All right. Our pleasure, Mark. Um, do we have time for a few minutes of Q&A? Is that okay? I think we said until the 55 mark.
Yeah, 55 is great.
Cool. And we'll do a minute before just in case. Any questions from anyone? We had some really good ones before on risks. Okay, DK asked, how about approaching frameworking and structured thinking for creative brainstorming questions? Love it. Brainstorming is frameworking light. So you don't have to be perfectly mesy, but you do have to have categories and be thematic. So DK, I would advise you to get really good at frameworking in and of itself. And then brainstorming is just frameworking light. Um, Categories, buckets, doesn't have to be perfectly collectively exhaustive. Same goes for case leadership. Case leadership is the implementation of your framework. That's the whole freaking point of a framework, right? Case leadership is how you run a project. A framework is how you'd set up a project. So wouldn't it be reasonable to venture to guess that that's what leads into it? But yeah, brainstorming is basically frameworking, but with less pedanticness, let's say. Sunny, yeah, that's a big question. Sunny, I have a whole folder with supply chain and operations cases. That comes with my coaching. Feel free to reach out if you like coaching. There's anything, right? Iran, Hormuz closure and how we affect that. AI implementation in supply chains, just in time being changed to, having backups and warehousing, a reshipping of routes from Pacific to Atlantic. COVID was a great one. Cost increases through freights. There's a million supply chain cases and operations. So yeah, learn how to framework, period, then apply it to supply chain cases. But I've prepped a lot of candidates for that if you'd like to learn more. Brendan asked, if the objective is given in the case prompt, should you still use a clarifying question, confirm, and see if there are secondary ones? I tend to say yes. I mean, if you're at a client site, you're on day one, even if your boss is assigning a job to you, don't you like double check? Just say it in your own words. And you can kind of combine two questions into one. So you can kind of like add that secondary objective into the primary. And by the way, it's not if there are secondary ones, there's always a secondary one. And Brendan, don't get confused with the word objective. Primary objective means the question we're asking or answering. Secondary objective just means the qualifier of that. What do we care about when answering that? It's not an if, it's always something. Whether they define it or not, if they don't define it, okay, it's just fix it, or it's just profits, right? But there's always a secondary objective. So, but yeah, ask, always double check, right? Make sure you understand things. Same thing with behavioral. Double check their question, reword it, unless you're 100% sure. Maria said, this would normally go after the behavior part of an interview, and later we do framework and later solve each, then goes the math. Woo! Okay, Maria, please go on Leland Plus and watch all the videos on cases. First of all, case is one portion of the interview, behavioral is another portion. Okay, they're separate. They can happen whenever the heck they want. They might never happen. Doesn't matter what they email you that will happen. The interviewer gets to do whatever the heck they want. Don't go in predicting this stuff, Maria. There's hundreds of firms across hundreds of countries, across thousands of offices, and hundreds of thousands of interviewers. Don't try and predict this. Be ready for behavioral, but be ready for case. Cases can go a million different ways. Okay. So just, but the general case flow is prompt, framework, solve the case with data, charts, exhibits, conclusion, recommendation. Okay. Um, yeah. Whew. Don't go in predicting stuff though. Be ready for anything. Elle said, if casebooks don't have great frameworks, are there any resources, methods you recommend for practicing frameworks outside of coaching? Yes, Elle, I know that this is selfish, but outside of coaching, my course. Okay. Feel free to message me for that. Parts of it are in Leland Plus. Other parts are only accessible through me. So sorry, I know that this is a Leland event, but I have a ton of stuff on how to framework effectively. Feel free to reach out to me. There's mine, and then there's crafting cases are also quite good. Those two are really, really good for frameworking. Okay. And there's a subset on Leland Plus as well. Okay. Be wary of Victor Chang. Be wary of Case Coach. I'm custom Case Coach, but be wary of Case Coach. Be wary of like management consultant. They're good for other reasons, but for frameworking, just be careful. It's really generic. But yeah, mine, Leland Plus, and crafting cases. L. Brendan, don't ask for asking for time before recommendation. I say yes, at 30 seconds if you need it. If you don't need it, don't ask for time for the recommendation. Um, thanks, Al. I appreciate it. Um, Amari, ideal cases like the ones of MBB, your key ingredient is to think that secondary key you mentioned, what are your needs, wants, desires, and not get too granular with all the analytical elements based on the case prompt, confuse it with a bucket. Yes, I think so. I'm not sure. Make sure you know the primary objective, make sure you know the secondary objective, then create a objective-driven MECE framework that is basically a project plan. So you're not going into the weeds. Yeah. Sani, yeah, of course the framework changes for supply chain cases, just like market entry, right? You can have all kinds of market entry cases. You can have all types of supply chain cases. Feel free to reach out. If you grab my, actually, Sania, if you grab my course and message me, I'll give you all my supply chain cases too, so that you can see. The ones that I recommend are Custom Case Coach and Crafting cases. Good for framework. Okay. And Leland Plus. Like genuinely, Leland Plus has so much stuff on there for you. Okay. Okay. I think we're good. Sonia, we give my link like a million times. So here's my link. 1 second. Oh, I think I was messaging I might have messed up actually there. I think my previous messages. Oh no, they were public. Yep. There you go. Oh no, you're all good. Don't worry. I was like flooding you with information, so you're all good. So there it is. And then you guys can just Google my name. And yeah, hope to see you on Leland. And again, like Leland Plus, so helpful. So helpful. Okay, sorry, I ran over a minute. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming. Loved the interaction. I really love it when I get all these questions. So thank you all.